Hello and welcome to this special ArtCAM Insignia Halloween demonstration. In this demonstration I'm going to be showing you how to create one of the reliefs that is accompanying this demonstration. Here you can see I've got this scary pumpkin that I'm going to be making, and I'm going to show you how to do this using ArtCAM Insignia. If I open up my relief clipart library, here you can see the 10 free reliefs that we are offering to people who want to download them. And here you can see the pumpkin, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. So this is the final result, and what I'm going to do is just close the relief clipart library, and I'm going to open up this folder here. So here you can see a picture of a pumpkin, which is just a JPEG image. You can see it's quite large and the resolution is quite high. So what I'm going to do is just grab that and drag it into ArtCAM. It's going to ask me if I'd like to save my changes, so I'm going to select no. And now it's displaying a dialog box asking me to set the model size. So if I select image size here, I can change the height and the width of this particular image. So I'm going to change the height to, let's say, 100 millimeters. And you can see that the width automatically changes because it's preserving the aspect ratio. So if I click OK, here you can see I've set the origin to be in the center. I could change that if I wished by clicking. So I'm just going to click OK. So there you can see my picture of my many pumpkins. And what I'm going to do first of all is just click up here under Project, and this shows me the dimensions and it also shows me the resolution. Now you can see that it's over 4,000 pixels in the one direction. Now this is really high. I don't really need this that high. It's just going to take longer to calculate when I'm using ArtCAM. So I'm going to knock this down. The way that I do that is just select here to adjust the model resolution. And anything over about 1,500 pixels in one direction will be perfectly fine with good results. So if I click to continue, and this will change the model resolution. Now what I'm going to do is to create an outline for the pumpkin. So I'm just going to quickly create a circle and then just move that out. So if I create a circle here, like so, and I can't really see that too well at the moment, so I'm just going to select this slider bar here, which adjusts the transparency of the picture. And then if I select here for node editing, this allows me to edit nodes. So what I can do is start moving these around to the outside of the pumpkin. So if I were to move that there, let's say, like so, and then I can select these little ones here, which are actually midpoints, and I can move those out and they become nodes. So I can start moving those out, like so. And there you can see I've created the outline of that in a matter of seconds really. Now what I'm going to do is to show you something that's been introduced into ArtCAM Insignia. Previously you could not create any 3D work, but now you can do that by using the shape editor or the 2-rail sweep. So these have both been introduced from ArtCAM Pro. So if I select here, this is the shape editor. You can also select F12 on the keyboard, or you can just double click on the vector or the colour that you'd like to use the shape editor on. So what I'm going to do is create a dome at 30 degrees and click add. Now what you can do with the shape editor, you can create domed surfaces, you can create beveled edges, or you can create flat surfaces. You can also limit these to a height. So for instance, if you wanted to create a radius or a chamfer around the edge, you would do that by limiting the bevel to a specific height. You can also add a start height, so this will add a flat and then add the dome or the bevel. You can also scale it to a height. You can create constant height. I'm going to explain what the add, subtract, zero, merge high, merge low, zero, rest are in a moment. Basically what I've just done is click add, and this just adds the surface onto the model. So if I now go to the 3D view, there you can see that it's created my dome for me. I can turn the picture back on by pressing there, and if I press this zero plane, it will show the whole of the picture. So there you can see it's showing my pumpkin in the very early stages. So if I close the shape editor down, and I'm going to go back to the 2D view, what I'm going to do now is to take a look at the stalk at the top of the pumpkin, and I'm going to create a polyline. I'm going to draw smooth polylines, and I'm just going to create two sections coming down here, like so. If I press space on the keyboard, that will allow me to create another one. So just bring that down like so. So there you can see I've got two polylines there. And now what I'm going to do is create a cross section. So if I just come across, I just basically want to sort of follow the direction that the 3D is actually going. If you take a look here, you see what I mean. So you can see that it's going up there. Let's say that that's the Z height of this particular piece. So I'm just going to move that out of the way for a moment. And what I'm going to do now is use the 2-rail sweep tool. Now this is quite a powerful tool that we've introduced from ArtCAM Pro. It allows you to do some really complex shapes. And basically what it does is extrudes a cross section through 2 drive rails or 2 vectors. You can add as many cross sections as you wish, and you can have them modulating between cross sections. This is just a very basic demonstration, so all that I'm going to do is just basically extrude the cross section here through the 2 drive rails. So if I select my first drive rail, which is going to be this one, and the top drive rail, notice that it turns to A, and it shows me the direction that it's going in. Select the bottom one, which is going to be B, and again it shows me the direction. And then I can select my cross section and select add cross section. You see that that turns into 1, and there it adds the cross section. Now if I wanted to, I could add multiple cross sections here and just select add cross section, and it would show up here. Now if I go to the 3D view, just so I can take a look at these, and I'm going to turn off the colour shade for a moment, and if I click calculate, this will show me what's going to be produced. Now you'll notice, if I just pan round, you'll notice that this section here doesn't quite look right. That's because I've got the combine mode set to add. Now this is exactly the same as the shape editor. If I undo that, this time I set it to highest, so it's merge highest. What this will do, it will merge into the previous piece that's already there. So here you can see it's not adding onto the top of that. And I think that that looks fine as it is. Just needs a little bit of tidying up, and I'm going to do that using the sculpting tools that have also been introduced into ArtCAM Insignia. So if I close the 2-rail sweep now, and what I'm going to do is to, first of all, I'm going to do some smoothing. I'm going to stick with these settings: diameter of 20, strength of 41 and a smoothness of 100. Now if I just turn off the zero plane and just start going like that, you can see that that's actually drawing on the zero plane, so I don't really want that. If I revert that, select material safety plane, and this time I'm going to set that to 0.05 millimeters. And now if I do it, you can see that it's not actually going onto the zero plane. So what I can do is to smooth out this stalk here and make sure that it blends into the body of the pumpkin. So if I start doing that, you can see it's starting to blend nicely into the pumpkin. Now you can see that there's a little area here that I don't really want, so what I'm going to do is to go to the erase tool. I'm going to turn the diameter down, set the strength really low, and press Ctrl on the keyboard, and I'm just going to start erasing this. So there you can see it's creating sort of a lumpy bumpy effect on the stalk. There you can see. Now I'm just going to smooth this back in again, just so it looks a bit more natural. So there you can see that that's sorted out the bottom of the stalk. Now I'm going to take a look at the top of the stalk. If I turn my colour shade back on and go to the 2D view, just turn up the contrast, and I can sort of see where this stalk goes. What I'm going to do is turn off the zero plane for a moment, go back to the erase tool, and I'm going to use a diameter of around about 10 and a strength of about 60. The smoothness, as you can see, it's set to 100, so it's quite smooth. So if I were to start erasing now, you can see it gives me sort of a radius edge on the smoothing tool. If I set that down to 0, it gives me a completely sharp edge. So if I were to erase this now, you can see it's giving me a completely sharp edge. So I just want this to look a little bit more natural and not look as though it's just been chopped off at the end. So if I just start erasing around here, I think that will do. So I can close the erase tool now, and I can turn off my colour shade. So there you can see the start of my pumpkin. Now what I'm going to do is give the body a little bit of a natural feel. So I'm going to use the erase tool again. I mean, if you take a look at that, I've never seen a pumpkin that is perfectly a dome shape. So we need to do something about that. So if I go to the erase tool again, and we're going to come back up to 400 for the diameter. The smoothness is going to be 100. I want this to be really smooth, and the strength I'm going to come right the way down to 1 because I only want to do this slightly. So if I just start touching just on the pumpkin, and then rotate around, you can see that it's just creating this lumpy, bumpy sort of effect, and it's giving a more natural looking feel to the pumpkin. Okay, so the pumpkin is now not a perfect dome. It looks a lot more natural. So if I close the erase tool now, and now it's time to add some texture to this particular pumpkin. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is to create a boundary of the whole of this pumpkin. And firstly, if I turn on the vectors, I'm just going to select all of these vectors and just delete them so they don't get in the way. And I'm going to create a boundary from relief, and I'm going to just click create boundary. Now what this has done is it's created a boundary for the whole of the relief. So I've got this vector now along the boundary. Now I'll explain why in a moment that I need that. And what I'm going to do is to create some texture on this. So if you come up here to texture relief, and what you can do with this is you can do this over the whole of the relief, you can do it over a selected vector, or you can do it over a selected colour. Now if I do this over a selected vector, I'll just make sure that I select this vector here, and I'm going to do some spherical texture. Change the size to around about 10mm, and then click add. You'll see that this has added this spherical texture. Now I can do the same creating elliptical textures, cones textures, pyramids, or even weaves. But the really cool thing that you can do with this is to add this from a file. So if I wanted to, I could select this vector and select from file, select a file. Now let's take a look in my library, and let's say for instance I wanted to add something really weird to this. Let's say a floor, let's say this cobblestone floor. I could click open. I could change the height of that if I wished, let's say 0.5, and let's change the width of that, let's say to 50, and then I can click add. There you can see it's added this cobblestone floor to my pumpkin. Now, okay, you probably don't want a cobblestone floor on the pumpkin, so what I'm going to do is just undo that. A really cool thing that you can do with this is do this from a file, but you can use the original picture. So what I'm going to do is select the whole relief to do this, select file, and what I'm going to do is go to my original picture, which is here, and I'm going to click open. There you can see in blue it's given me a preview of this. I'm going to make this a little bit more pronounced, so let's say 1.5mm in height, and I'm going to click add. And I can close the texture relief down now. Now, there you can see that it's added this texture. The only problem is that it's added the whole of the outside. So you can see I've got all these other pumpkins that it's added. I don't really want those. So what I can do is use the shape editor to act as sort of a trimming or cutting tool. So if I open up the shape editor and I select this vector here, and I'm going to click 0 rest, and there you can see that that's chopped all of the outside out. Now you can also see that there's quite a lot of noise in this now. It's not looking amazing at the moment, so what I'm going to do is, previously I showed you the smooth sculpting tool. What you can do is do this globally over the whole of the layer. So I'm going to do this using 3 passes over the whole of the relief, and you'll see that this makes this look a lot nicer there. So there you can see that that's made that look a lot nicer and a lot more realistic. Now if I wanted to create multiple versions of this pumpkin, what I could do with this is to open up the relief clipart library and then just grab the relief and just drag it into the relief clipart library. So there you can see I've got my relief there. And now what I can do is start cutting the eyes out and the mouth, but I also have the original, which is this one, and I can create multiple versions of this without affecting with it. So if I just select create polyline, I'm not going to draw smooth polylines for this because I want it to be quite rigid. And let's say for instance, if I create some triangles here for the eyes, and I'll go to create a scary looking mouth. Let's say like so. Now my mouth and eye creation as regards to pumpkins is not amazing, so you have to bear with me. And what I'm going to do is just select each of these and open up the shape editor. Now this time, instead of 0 rest, I'm going to use 0, so this gets rid of everything on the inside rather than the outside. So if I click 0, you can see that that's basically trimmed off everything on the inside. Now I don't really want these edges to be so straight. I want to add a little bit of an angle on there because it doesn't really look that realistic. So what I'm going to do is go to reliefs and then add draft. I'm going to add 5 degrees of draft and then just click apply. This will automatically add 5 degrees angle onto any straight edges. So there you can see that that's added draft onto the eyes and the mouth. And there you can see I have my finished pumpkin. I can just turn on the colour shade so it gives me a better representation, and then what I can do is open up the clipart library, drag that relief in there. I don't want to overwrite it, and there you can see I have relief 1, and there you can see the original relief. So if I wanted to, what I could do is grab the original relief. I could change the size of that. Let's say down to there, and let's say move that to there. Take a look in the 3D view, and there you can see it's merging into that, and I could just make sure that I have merge high set and then click paste, and then you can see it's added another pumpkin down the bottom there. So you can start to build up a scene using multiple pumpkins. So all that you would need to do is cut the eyes out again for this one. I could also, let's say for instance, add this one here. Let's just move this one out of the way. Let's say to there, and click paste. Now this is off the actual 0 plane, so it's just going to cut that off and then close. There you can see I've got another pumpkin there. So you can start to build up a scene using multiple pumpkins. So thank you for watching this demonstration. I hope that you found it useful and you enjoyed the new tools within ArtCAM Insignia, and hopefully you'll enjoy using the free reliefs that we've created for you. And have a very happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.